Every once in a while, a watch comes along which is so much nicer in person than expected when bought online. That is definitely the case here. This watch feels like a proper dress watch. This dress watch is from Citizen's classic collection. This is the Citizen Corso model number BM7330. At the time of this video, you can find this watch at Jomo Shop for $179 US, or at Amazon for $196. Of course, you can also go over to the Citizen website and pay $260. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eric's Everyday Watches. As always, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing. It comes in the standard packaging from Citizen. On the outside, we have this black belly band, and sliding that off, we have a nice solid box, the top being a white polyvinyl material which cascades over the front. And on the sides and the back, we have a faux wood textured pattern done in black. Looking at the back of the box, we see there are actual metal hinges used. And opening up the box, we see the watch presented on a nice thick black watch pillow. In my opinion, this is a top-notch packaging for this price point. I've said it before, I am a fan of this packaging. This watch has a very classic appearance to it, with the case being made out of 316 stainless steel. We have a diameter coming in at a very nice size of 40 millimeters, not including the crown. For a lug-to-lug distance, we have a very compact 46 millimeters. This watch has a dual finish to it, the bezel having a high polished, while the top of the case is a brushed finish. And then the chamfered edges and the sides of the case are a high polish again. Now, I normally prefer a case which is mostly brushed, but this is done so well and it fits the shape of the case, and I think it works here. And when I say the shape of the case, I mean look at the large bevel cut into the case where it meets with the bracelet. That arch is mimicked by the arch of the two center links, and that rounded pattern is continued down this bracelet. From the top of the case, we see how it gently bows out and from the center of the dial. And the chamfered edges on the side of the case give the illusion of being rounded off while still keeping a clean-cut look to it. All of the edges and corners are nice and smooth to the touch. There are no sharp areas anywhere to be found. This watch is technically 40 millimeters in diameter, but it actually wears smaller due to the case shape. I found this watch to be extremely wearable on my 7-inch wrist. On back of the watch, there is a screw-down case back with text that reads Citizen Watch Company, 10-bar water resistance, Japan movement, stainless steel, and of course the Citizen EcoDrive logo with the globe icon. Now, I hope you caught that this dress watch comes with 10 bars or 333 feet of water resistance. It's nice to see that level of water resistance on a dress watch. Moving on, inside that case, we have Citizen's EcoDrive Solar Movement, the E111, made by the Miyota division of Citizen. It has no jewels and approximately 6 months of power reserve. It is a 3-hand movement with a date window at 3 o'clock. The crown on this watch is unsigned and approximately 5 millimeters in width and 3 millimeters in depth, which might seem small, but at the same time, kind of appropriate for a dress watch. There are no crown guards here. Pulling it out to the first position sets the date, and pulling it out to the second position sets the time. This is a simple push-pull crown. Now let's take a look at the face of the watch. Starting on the outside, we have a white minute track printed directly on the dial. And inside of that, we have very thin metallic baton-shaped indices applied at the 5-minute ticks all the way around the dial. At the 12 o'clock position, we have baton indices which are not only doubled up side by side, but they are also substantially wider to begin with, giving the 12 o'clock position an unmistakable sense of hierarchy. Now, one important call out here is that none of the indices are actually loomed. Below that double indices at the 12 o'clock position, we have the Citizen logo printed in white directly on the dial. And further down at the 6 o'clock position, we see the words EcoDrive. The design of this dial has been kept sparse, and in my opinion, it comes across as being clean and classic. The date at the 3 o'clock position is printed black on white, with the window itself being surrounded by a white outline. In ideal situations, it is legible, but in a dim environment, or when viewing it from an angle, it can be difficult to see the date. And that is in part due to the nature of a solar watch, and the date wheel having to be further away from the face of the dial. The dial itself is a deep blue color and offers plenty of contrast against the metallic indices and the white hands. There is a sunburst pattern incorporated into the dial, giving the watch a classic flair, and again, in my opinion, it makes the watch look very distinguished. The sword-shaped hands on this watch are loomed in the center and outlined in a metallic treatment. They are highly legible against the dark dial. The second hand stops about 3 millimeters short of the minute track, but it does hit those markers dead on all the way around the dial. However, there is no loom on the running second hand. The only loom on this watch is found on the minute and hour hands. It is not overly bright, and I did not expect it to pass my everyday loom test, especially since it did not appear to be glowing to start with, but to my surprise, it actually did pass. Now, my everyday loom test includes wearing the watch and getting it exposed to the light during the day, and then leaving it next to my bed at night and looking over between 4 and 5 in the morning and seeing if I can tell the time. It was dim, but this watch did pass the loom test. That said, I still found the loom on this watch to be lacking and wish that it was brighter. Also, having another point of loom on the dial would have helped for orientation at night. Small loom pips even at the top of the indices would have taken this watch to the next level. And finally, topping off that dial, we have a flat piece of mineral crystal, which is what you would expect for a price point of under $200 US. Now, the bracelet is stainless steel and is 23 millimeters wide just outside of the case and tapers down to 20 millimeters at the clasp. That clasp is signed and with a double push button release and has a pressed scissors section. However, there are no micro adjustments. The links themselves appear to be solid links and have been given a dual finish, with the outer section being a brushed finish and the inner section a high polish. The style and polishing on the bracelet definitely helps to elevate the overall appearance of the watch and brings it all upscale. Oftentimes, you see a watch with a bracelet that feels like an afterthought. Here, the bracelet seems like it was thought of at the same time and given the same amount of consideration as the shape of the case itself. In my opinion, it just works together wonderfully. So let's go over the specs for this watch. We have a mineral crystal, EcoDrive E111 movement, a diameter of 40 millimeters, a thickness of 9.5 millimeters, a lug width of 23 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug distance of 46 millimeters. So let's wrap up by going over the pros and cons. For pros, it is a good-looking watch. It is classic and elegant. It does feel like it could be a higher price point watch. It is very legible when it comes to the time. You get the EcoDrive movement, which is going to be reliable and accurate. You have 100 meters of water resistance. It is a good fits and finish. And the bracelet. For cons, I'm going to say the loom. It's just not bright enough. And the date window can be hard to read at an angle. And the bracelet has no micro adjustments. So my final thoughts on this watch. I was unprepared for how much I was actually going to like this watch. There's just something about its overall appearance between the case shape and the bracelet and just that simple, elegant dial. Is it perfect? No, of course not. It's not perfect. But when you weigh it against the less than $200 price point, this is a class act. This has been Eric from Eric's Everyday Watches, reminding you to buy the watch that you love. And don't pay any attention to what anybody else says or thinks. This is your watch collection. If you like this video, if you find it helpful in any way, please do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.